Yeah, so we'll mute everyone, keep everyone muted, utilize the chat function, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end where you can feel free to unmute and we can talk through some questions, concerns, or discuss anything further. And then, of course, we could take things offline if it is a bigger discussion or application you want to have a conversation about. That would be great. And other than that, I'll be kicking it over to Andy Wright, who'll be doing the presentation today on the Swagelok Tube Fitting Advantage. He'll run for about 20, 25 minutes or so. And then, like I said, we'll have a brief recap or any questions or anything you want to talk about at the end. We feel free to do so. And that's about it. We'll pass it over to Andy and get rolling.
Awesome. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it. So today's topic is the Swagelok Tube Fitting Advantage. And so just to do a little welcome and intro here, as Gary said, my name is Andy Wright. I've been with Swagelok Pittsburgh for about 11 years, and I always enjoy this topic because I remember when I showed up on my first day here 11 years ago, I wasn't even really sure what a tube fitting was, but our trainer at the time, he was just so enthusiastic about it that he naturally pulled me in. And so I find myself being equally as enthusiastic about it 11 years on. So, I hope that is, some of that enthusiasm is conveyed here because Swagelok and Swagelok Pittsburgh is proud of the work that we do. So certainly appreciate you taking the time here today. I know everybody's busy and there's a lot going on. So want to make sure that this is valuable for you. I know that Gary indicated that everybody's going to be muted, but I have found that some of these sessions are more productive and fruitful when there is participation from the attendees. So if there are any questions or any comments that you want to make along the way, don't hesitate to post them in the chat. And Gary, you can just flag me as I'm going through this if you want to pause and address something specifically. So that includes if there's any specific objectives or anything that you're looking to accomplish as we go through this. Don't hesitate to let us know because, I do have, material prepared, but there's something specific that you're looking to cover. Please let me know so we can make sure to make this valuable to you. So at Swagelok, we are very proud to be known as the industry leader in fluid system distribution components and, most specifically, the tube fittings. We have invested a tremendous amount of resources into research and design and engineering that results in unfailing reliability of Swagelok tube fittings. So, what I want to accomplish here today is just highlight some of those differentiating characteristics that Swagelok employs when some others out there are attempting to commoditize what a tube fitting is. So some of the things that make Swagelok different are these 6 categories. So better by design. So that's going to be the actual design of the tube fitting. Material difference is going to be the raw material that we employ. Excellence in manufacturing is going to be the manufacturing practices that we use at the factory to make sure that the design and the material are reliable and consistent when they go out the door. So those are going to be the 3 ones that we're going to focus on today. I'll also touch on a high level from some of the other services that we offer, the supply chain that we employ, and then the unmatched associates that we employ. Specifically the one that is presenting this webinar here today. So let me jump in. So Swagelok is the pioneer of the original Ferrule tube fitting, and that was developed in 1947, and we still have over 200 active patents worldwide. The culture of Swagelok manifests itself through our proprietary design of the tube fitting in the following ways. So we outperform other fittings in 3 key areas. That is going to be tube grip, gas seal, and vibration resistance. We also deploy a SAT-12 carburization process on the back ferrule that is going to yield way better performance of the tube fitting. Through the design, it is going to be easy to install. So the ease of installation is going to be important for the customers it uses. And then on the back end, we do a tremendous amount of rigorous testing in extreme environments to make sure that when they're out in the field, you can have peace of mind that they are going to be safe and reliable and leak tight every time. So above all, Swagelok's reputation is for reliability. And so, want to demonstrate some of that stuff today. So Swagelok uses a grip type design. So it is not a bite type design. So there are some other designs out there that basically just bite onto the tubing as hard as they can, but that can lead to stress risers and premature cracking or fracturing of the tubing. So Swagelok has a different design, and it is a grip type design that utilizes a hinging and collating action of the back ferrule to achieve optimal performance in three key areas. Those areas are going to be tube grip, gas seal, and vibration resistance. So when we look at the design and the components that are present in a tube fitting, there are 6 components that are important when installing a tube fitting. So 1 is going to be the fitting body. 2 is going to be the front ferrule. 3 is going to be the back ferrule. 4 is going to be the nut. 5 is going to be the actual tubing. And then the 6th one that isn't presented here is going to be the installer. So, that is going to be important as well. And so we'll touch on some of the installation a little bit later. But from a design standard, the gas seal is achieved from the front ferrule. So, when the nut is pulled up 1 1/4 turns from finger tight, which is the installation procedure, the front ferrule is going to do it's called burnishing and polishing on the body bevel here and the tubing here, which is going to create our gas seal. So that's obviously important because we don't want to have any leaks. So that's where the actual sealing is being done. So now the importance and the benefit of having a 2 ferrule design is that the other characteristics, the tube grip and vibration resistance, are going to be achieved in the back ferrule. So if you'll notice, there's a little notch that is cut out of the inside of that back ferrule. So when the nut is pulled up 1 1/4 turns, that back ferrule is going to do what is called hinging and collating. And so you can see that the collating region is highlighted here. And so what that basically is going to be enhanced or increased surface to surface contact with the back ferrule and the tubing. So that's important because that is going to give us, way better tube grip. So we're going to have more direct contact and gripping support between the fitting and the tubing, so there won't be any blowouts. And then also, since there is vibration all over the place constantly, the vibration of the tubing is going to be absorbed by the back ferrule and not compromise the gas seal. So it isolates, the stress risers that can be formed on the front ferrule. So front ferrule is going to do the gas seal. Back ferrule is through the hinging and collating is going to perform tube grip and vibration resistance. So this is the basis. This is the design of the Swagelok tube fitting. And the back ferrule is able to achieve its, unique performance through the design of the notch that's cut out here, but also as a result of a SAT-12 process that we employ on the back ferrules. So a SAT-12 process is a low temperature carburization process. So it is going to be like a surface hardening that is going to produce toll steel-like hardness and strength, but it will not sacrifice any of the corrosion resistance or material ductility. So it still is able to be, malleable and still able to do that hinging and collating. So this has been in use for over 2 decades, and it is it's something that Swagelok is very proud of, and something. And this SAT-12 can kind of get pretty deep into material sciences and metallurgy, but something to just kind of highlight is that it is a long process and it's a slow process. So this is another area where Swagelok does not sacrifice, cost for quality. So this is the, the optimal way to do surface hardening for back ferrule, and Swagelok certainly invests in doing this. So moving on to installation, I touched on it in a previous slide, but installation procedure for a Swagelok tube fitting across multiple sizes, across different materials, is going to be 1 1/4 turns from finger tight. And the reason that it is 1 1/4 turns from finger tight is based upon the engineering principles of the ferrules that are inside of the tube fitting. So this is not going to be based on torque. This is going to be based on distance that the nut needs to move in relation to the body, and that distance is 0.0625 inches. And so at that distance, that is going to get the front ferrule and the back ferrule to do their proper gas seal, tube grip, vibration resistance, and have a leak tight seal. So it's not based on torque, it's based on engineering. And so on installation, only standard wrenches are needed. So there's no special tools that are required to make up a Swagelok tube fitting. There's no threading, flaring, soldering, brazing, or welding. And so it's something that's important about, the assembly is that Swagelok connections can be reassembled multiple times as well. So if you are using, consistent installation practices, a Swagelok tube fitting can be used a number of times. And then also on a local level, Swagelok Pittsburgh offers a suite of training services to support, your employees with proper installation practices. Just a quick aside here, when I started 11 years ago, everybody kind of had their own training program that they were providing to their customers. So I had my own training program. Associates at Swagelok Pittsburgh had their own training program. So when you extrapolate that, over the globe, there's were a number of different training programs. And so Swagelok, recognized that if people were going to go through a Swagelok training program, there needed to be a baseline of information that was conveyed and presented in a training program to make sure that everybody who was Swagelok trained had a baseline of knowledge. And so when they handed that task over to somebody at the corporate level, his name was Mike Gagel, who wrote the training program for the global initiative. And Mike has since moved to Pittsburgh, and he now is our technical trainer here in Pittsburgh. So if you're ever interested in doing some installation or bending training here locally, you actually have the guy who wrote the global program doing the local training. So a pretty cool thing that we are able to offer here out of Swagelok Pittsburgh. So moving on from the installation, it's pretty apparent from some of these other areas that Swagelok is pretty scientific about the methods that they go through to design and metallurgy, and that's no different when it comes to testing on the back end. So Swagelok continuously and rigorously test thousands of samples. So there are ongoing validation tests that are happening continuously. And then Swagelok also publishes a comprehensive book of product test reports that are, kind of like more general in nature. But we can also do, we call customer test reports. So these are for specific conditions and specific applications unique to the customer. So if there's ever anything that you as a customer would be curious to run a test on, let us know and we can look into that. And so before I move on to the raw material and the manufacturing, just want to pause for a moment and mention Swagelok's stance on interchanging and intermixing. And the stance is never interchange and never intermix. The Big reason for that is that there's no industry-wide commercial design standard for what constitutes a tube fitting. So that means that each manufacturer is going to follow its own standards and procedures. So each manufacturer is going to have its own design. Each manufacturer is going to use their their own raw material, and each manufacturer is going to use different manufacturing processes to make up a tube fitting. So we don't know what other companies are doing. No company knows what we are doing. So the best practice is to just stay away from interchanging and intermixing, because that would also, void the Swagelok limited lifetime warranty, and meaning that the customer would accept full responsibility for the performance and the outcome. So now, moving on to the raw material that Swagelok uses. So, you can have the best design, the best engineered product, but if you're not using the top of the line material to produce that, you can have subpar results. So at Swagelok, we'd like to say that everything starts with the melt. So, as mills and stainless steel manufacturers have gotten better at dialing in, the requirements of the elements that constitutes stainless steel. They have tended to the lower ranges of the percentages for things like chromium and nickel. Swagelok, on the other hand, has maintained 17% nickel and 17% chromium and 12% nickel. And this is going to lead to enhanced corrosion resistance and ductility of the stainless steel. So again, this is another issue of not sacrificing quality for cost. And so Swagelok is such a large buyer of stainless steels that we run batches from our approved mills that are unique to Swagelok. So Swagelok stainless steel cannot be purchased by anybody else. So when we go back to the Interchange intermix, there is no other company, no other manufacturer that is able to use the Swagelok stainless steel. So we put a bunch of controls on our suppliers in the procurement process, and then we also undergo a tremendous amount of testing when it comes into our receiving. So we do 100% ultrasonic testing. And so this just helps ensure the uniform manufacturability when we're making up our tube fittings. And this highlights some of the material and some of the testing. So chloride stress corrosion cracking, it happens. No stainless steel is immune from that, but through some testing procedures and the material that is employed in the stainless steel, in the Swagelok stainless steel, they did a lot of testing and none of the Swagelok nuts cracked or leaked, while 39% of other nuts cracked, and then 2.7% leaked. So you can kind of see the picture down there below of what 700 plus hours of a test environment does to other stainless steels. And with that in mind, Swagelok offers a wide array of alloys and to combat corrosion. So just know that there are other options available. And then there are also combinations of those alloys that we have tested that are engineered combinations that we can, employ to make sure that there is not a lot of corrosion cracking. And some of these are specific to seawater, but they can be applicable to other applications. So now moving into kind of tying together some of the design, some of the material into the manufacturing process. So what's important here is that Swagelok owns the manufacturing process from start to finish. We forge, we machine, we electropolish, we weld, we assemble. We invest a lot into the machines that we use, always concerned about total cost of ownership of those machines in order to minimize the errors. And then also Swagelok has a tool shop in the manufacturing center, so we maintain the tools that are there as well. So that is able to achieve, super tight tolerances that we keep. Also have a robust reliability excellence program. And then this leads to traceability at all phases of the process as well. And then that enables us to stand behind our limited lifetime warranty. So just know that a unique identification code is assigned to a heat of each material, and then this information is maintained throughout the manufacturing and assembly process. It allows us to track a lot of the material that makes up a part and which components are in assembly. And so we've been approved by all these quality systems that are listed here. And through all this, we are able to stand behind Swagelok limited lifetime warranty, and that is the best in the industry. So we have been honoring the same warranty for over 70 years. So it says that there's a defect of material or workmanship, will not only replace the product, but also the installation of that product. So I know personally that I've been involved in a couple product evaluations, and Swagelok does an excellent job of really doing good research in a lab analysis to determine what the root cause of a potential failure is, to make sure that the remedy is accurate. So those are the topics that I wanted to cover: the design, the material, and the manufacturing. And in order to support these, I mentioned some of the training services that we offer, and everything has an eye towards safety. With everything that we do. So always want to make sure that, we're producing, manufacturing, supporting safety, since tube fittings are a pressure containing device. We also have other services that include like on-site services, custom solutions, which is fabrication and assembly of components. And then obviously our technical know-how and expertise. And then, to get these products from the factory to our customers, we employ a pretty strong supply chain. So our business model is basically from the manufacturer to a handful of regional warehouses that are around the world. And then those regional warehouses supply 225 independently owned and operated sales and service centers. And so we are one of those sales and service centers. And so, being local and knowing what our customers' wants and needs are is really important to understanding, how we can best serve and service our customers. And then just a quick note on unmatched associates. So there is a lot of collaboration that goes along across the Swagelok network. So we are constantly collaborating with the factory. So, if we need technical support or something like a product evaluation, we have direct lines of communication to the factory. And then we also work a lot with our other sales and service centers to make sure the customers are receiving consistent support across their networks as well. So to close this, just wanted to present a couple company facts that I thought were interesting. The first one I want to bring to your attention is that $10 million in annual R&D investment. So this is just R&D. This isn't CapEx for machines or anything. And so, that just signifies that Swagelok isn't living in like a Me Too world. We are going out and we are designing and making investments to make sure that our products are going to perform the way that our customers need them to. And then the last thing is down at the lower right there, that Swagelok manufactures about 40 million tube fittings a year. I just think that is a crazy number, and that's just 1 year. So when we talk about remakeability and the ability to, use nuts and ferrules and bodies from the same from Swagelok, we need to have consistency in our manufacturing and raw materials to have those mate and successfully perform across multiple years. So you start extrapolating out 40 million tube fittings a year. We got a lot of stuff out there that we need to hold super tight tolerances on to make sure that it is performing safely and reliably for the customers. So in closing, I hope it was apparent, how enthusiastic we take something seemingly as simple as a tube fitting to help our customers succeed. And I can tell you that this mentality permeates across all products and service lines here at Swagelok. So certainly thank you very much for your participation, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Awesome. Great job, Andy. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone enjoyed the presentation there and pulled some pieces of information that hopefully can be useful moving forward. We did not have any questions through the presentation there in the chat function, but if anybody wants to unmute at this time, we'll wait a minute or so here just to see if anybody wants to chime in with something or any feedback or anything along those lines. Now would be the time. All right. Well, if anything pops up down the line, you know who to reach out to. You guys on the call here know most of your account managers, or feel free to reach out to Andy or myself, and we'll help you with any questions, concerns, tube fitting related or otherwise. And we did record this presentation, so you guys will have access to that. If you do want to share it with anybody or review any information that was presented today, you'll have access to that. So again, thanks, Andy, for the presentation. You did a great job, and thanks everyone for spending a half hour with us of your day today. We hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll see you tune in for the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, everyone.